I put together a fully functional fishing paddleboard for those itching to get out on the water to truly hit the best spots without breaking the bank, or for spots with no near boat ramps, all for a grand total of $156. Let's start with everything I bought to make this happen, as well as pricing, installation, and finally taking her out on her maiden voyage to test functionality and performance. Any paddleboard will actually work. I picked up this 10-foot Lifetime Horizon on Facebook Marketplace for only $75, but there is a ton of options. The first two things I needed to do was buy a paddle, which I picked up for $25 from Dick's Sporting Goods. It's a Quest paddleboard paddle, and of course a paddleboard paddle holder. Installing was as easy as drilling simple pilot holes, getting the screws covered in some marine adhesive, and hand tightening them in and letting it dry. I decided to mount the holder on the top so that way I could easily access the paddle anytime I needed to quickly make adjustments while fishing. Next up is the $30 Igloo cooler with the fish ruler on top of it with added rod holders. We'll get into how I fixed the rod holders to the cooler right now. It's actually the exact same process. Drill a pilot hole, cover your stainless steel screw in some marine adhesive or any sort of caulk, and screw them in. But make sure you hand tighten it so you don't strip out the threading. Also, do not penetrate the inside of the cooler. This one's going to take a little bit more of a finesse. Just do not drill all the way through into the actual cooler. All you need is just a little bit. And this cooler works absolutely perfectly for exactly what I just did with these rod holders. I ended up getting really lucky because I didn't know if any other cooler I had would be this easy. I didn't penetrate the actual cooler part at all. Next, let's finalize the pricing. My Lifetime Horizon 10-foot was used from Facebook Marketplace for only $75. The Igloo cooler with the ruler on top I picked up from Academy Sports for $30 or Walmart for $35. I got mine from Academy for $30. To make this build as cheap as possible, I had to run around to a few different stores. Now, the Quest paddle is a great paddle for only $25, half the price of most competitors, and I had to travel over to Dick's Sporting Goods to pick this one up. The paddle clip was only $4 I got from Walmart, the Ozark Trail brand. I got two rod holders, the Ozark Trail brand, also from Walmart for $8 for the two of them. I also got a lime green ratchet strap set. Now, these ratchet straps actually suck, but they match the color of the paddleboard and they serve its purpose. They only sell them in packs of 4, but it's only $14. This brings our grand total to only $156. Pretty good. Now for some on-the-water testing. I forgot to mention that when I pulled up to the spot, I carried the paddleboard by hand all the way down to where I wanted to launch, and then I brought the cooler with the rod holders down separately, quickly attached via the ratchet straps, and pushed off. Sure enough, everything seems to work great. Very quickly, I started to appreciate how up close and personal I can get to docks and structures with no fear of ramming my motor into anything, hurting my boat, and just the pure stealth. Standing up, obviously looking down into the water, I could see some bait, some fish, nothing really catchable, but just having the visibility and the stealth is huge. In terms of stability, hey, it's a daggum paddleboard. It ain't no Prowler, but it gets the job done. And if you learn how to cast without using your entire body and using too much range of motion, I had absolutely no problem casting for a distance and skip casting under all this structure. As you can see, I'm kind of floating in, dropping my shrimp jig right where I wanted to be on the pilings, even though I didn't really think there was going to be much fish here. We're just kind of testing it out, quickly pushing off the piling and continue doing what I need to do. I would not have this level of intimacy and maneuverability even in my little boat. Hands down, this was the part I was the most anxious about, was turning around, getting on my knees, and literally rigging. I was worried about tying, rigging leader, doing whatever I need to do, focusing on what I needed to do without dunking myself. But the way I'm on my knees and I use my cooler as a table was actually super, super smooth, and I had no problems. I totally forgot I was on a paddleboard. I was totally in the zone trying to figure out what I needed to do. But having this cooler, not only to store everything I need, but a table for rigging is super handy. I had absolutely no plan and no intention of using this cooler as a seat, but turns out it is also a seat. Not only is it a ruler, a rod holder, dry storage, or hey, beer storage, it is also a daggum seat. And I ended up sitting down. Once I found this out, I was sitting most of the day. However, I quickly realized I cannot paddle from this position at all, and I'll show you why. Not sure if you caught what was going on there, but when I'm sitting on the back and all my weight is right over the rudder, every time I try to paddle from this position, I literally just go straight left, straight right. You have to alternate paddles from left to right every time, otherwise you're going to go in a 360, and figured out how I can do a 360-degree turn on a dime if I needed to hit a different direction. Alright, I've hit all the docks that I want to hit, and crunch. Unfortunately, no luck. I saw a ton of little fish, bunch of bait, but I couldn't see with my own eyes any good sized fish. I got a couple stumps that could have been some smaller trout, but anyway, not the point why I came out here. The point was the test run. So let me give you a quick tour here. So up on the front is where I keep my life jacket, the GoPro mount right on the handle, and I forgot the right attachment. But this is actually a camera mount, one of the reasons I bought it. But you turn around here. It's decently wide, you got plenty of room, but the paddle, I installed the holder on the top, so that way you can use it like that, pull it out, or when you're making quick adjustments, like I've been doing all day, I set it on the edge, so if you kind of kick it, it's just kind of fall through here, especially if you loop the back end through there. I mean, that's not going anywhere, and I don't even really use that unless I'm transporting it down the highway. Then we've got our super cheap $30 Igloo cooler, which is a perfect size for the back of a paddleboard. Plus, it goes up to 15 inches, so most of the fish that we've been catching lately, it'd be too big, but it's better than nothing, and you can do some quick maths on it there and slide the fish down and measure it. But I've got two rod holders that I showed you at the beginning of the video installed right there, about $4 a piece. Super easy to do, and they work great. I installed two so I can access the rudder that is deployed by pressing down on it. So that's cool. I still have room to reach through here, although I think I might just go ahead and do that at the ramp or the beach or wherever I'm launching it. And probably definitely not the ramp. If I'm at the ramp, I'm going to be in my boat. But I probably just deploy that first, and I can add something at an angle and put a net back there. That'd be nice. But in here, we've got all sorts of storage. Of course, you can load it with beer if you want, do whatever you want, but I've got some camera stuff, tons of soft plastics. We got my leader, of course, my wallet. We've got the hardware, fish grips, so that way if we do pull in a big one, we don't have to fumble around and fall off. We can go straight to the point, hook them in there, and get them measured. I've got all sorts of stuff in here. I've got my shrimp spray, but basically this is my storage, more dry storage. Obviously I have more room on my boat, but more dry storage with this thing. It is the perfect size, and I can sit on it and take a break, which is super nice. But I'm scraping up against all these oysters and barnacles, which is not good. So I'm gonna probably get back to the ramp. There you have it. You know me, I love cheap boats, cheap plastic vessels that get out on the water and catch fish, and for $156, you really can't complain. I was shocked at how smooth today went. The shot you're looking at right now is basically the only thing that went wrong. The rod holders were perfect, the amount of storage was ample, I was plenty stable, the paddle didn't fall into the water once, and overall it was just a great experience. I highly recommend you go do something similar to this, or copy me exactly. They definitely make wider paddle boards out there, which I would recommend, but this one had a perfect slot to mount the cooler, and it is the Lifetime Horizon 10-foot, if that is the exact one you're after. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more cheap little vessel, little fishing boat videos. I love making them.